On a dark, moonless summer night, with only occasional bolts of heat lightning to reveal the blackness, Ryan stretched his stiff legs as best he could while driving the rented moving van. All his worldly possessions were stuffed behind him as he drove the long 5-hour trip. He turned left on a gravel road, almost time now, almost to his new home in the United States and to his new life in California. Off in the distance, an orange, yellow, and red glow flickered on the horizon. A fire! Oh no! Ryan pulled into the long, winding driveway as flames leaped, dancing in the wind while devouring the old, weathered wood barn. He jumped from the van and ran towards the blaze. That barn was supposed to be an animal shelter and headquarters for his new job. Ryan felt like he was watching a funeral pyre for his new life. What kind of sign was this for this new beginning? The fire, hot as the hinges of hell, singed his golden hair as he ran into the choking cloud of black, billowing smoke. He collided into what he felt like was a brick wall, and his knees buckled. Whoa, man. Large, gentle hands clasped his shoulders to stop him from falling upon impact, and then guided him back out of the heat. Ryan's heart caught at the sound of the deep, rich, baritone voice. Indigo eyes locked onto his blue ones, then widened with surprise. Or was it appreciation? Perhaps the scorching heat was roasting his thinking processes. Something soft squirmed against the man's chest before Ryan realized the man's brawny arms were filled with whimpering baby hamsters. He was rescuing baby animals. Although glistening with sweat and smudged with charcoal, too sooty to distinguish his features, he seemed like a knight in not quite shining armor. Who are you? Ryan whispered. I'm Leto. Leto remembered his manners at the same time as the wiggling weights in his arms. Here. He thrust the bundle of panicky hamsters into Ryan's arms before brushing away a stray lock of golden hair from Ryan's lovely round face. He took a giant step back, away from the temptation of Ryan's athletic form. Leto wondered why no one warned him that Ryan was such a beauty. You must be Ryan, the new vet? He tossed a look back over his shoulders as he again ran towards the barn to save more animal shelter strays. Ryan settled the newborn hamsters on the grass, well away from the blazing barn, as fire engines roared into the driveway. Firemen hollered out directions to each other, working in harmony with hoses to blast the waters into flames. Leto hauled out the baby hamster's mother, handing it and 3 more baby hamsters to Ryan before dashing back for another rescue. Professionals that they were, the firemen had the inferno down to a smolder in no time. One of the firefighters led Ryan into a large neighboring ranch house at the end of the lane and told him that the owner said for him to take care of the rescued animals here. Although he kept his hands busy by washing the smoky scent from the hamsters, his mind zoomed from one worry to another with the speed of a NASCAR race. What would he do now? What about his job at the animal shelter? Now that the barn burned, where would he even live if not in the loft? Did God have something personal against him? For his fresh start to begin with a disaster? Wasn't it all but a flashing neon sign that advertised that he'd made a wrong decision to move here? Oh no. Would his new veterinarian partner want to rebuild the animal shelter? He'd never spoken with him directly, but he'd been interviewed by the relocating vet who was to hire a replacement partner. What did the future hold for him? Ryan sighed deeply. Only 2 hours ago, he was giddy with glee, full of positive attitude, and was excited at the potential for this new direction his life was taking. Despite the animal's shelter and ashes down the lane, again and again he wondered just who precisely was Leto. Where had he come from, and would he see him again? He wasn't what he would call handsome, covered head to toe in grime, but there was something about him, something he liked, something he hadn't felt for a very long time, something that happened instantly when their gaze met. Well, Ryan conceded, their head-on collision could have knocked his senses out of whack. He, simply misread their physical impact. No, it wasn't chemistry. He no sooner settled the hamsters into a makeshift bed when he heard the smooth baritone that Ryan recalled from earlier. He turned his head towards the source, and his mouth went dry. Surely this wasn't Leto. This man was freshly showered, his features no longer smudged and indistinguishable. He inhaled deeply as he detected the pleasant sensation of his pure masculine scent. With his ivory clothing, chocolate hair, and indigo eyes that also held a mixture of humor, wisdom, and kindness, the man before him could give any number of professional male models a run for their money in the fluttering of the male heart department. The smoky voice was saying something, but his heart was thudding too unevenly to hear. This man couldn't possibly be Leto the hamster rescuer, could he? Yet he smiled slowly at his gaping mouth, and the rich, deep tone rumbled. "You okay, Ryan?" Wow! Swallowing hard, he forced his gaze away from the indigo one before his face could betray his thoughts. He looked like a modern-day gladiator with broad shoulders, corded neck, and perfectly sculpted face. When he dared another glance, he stared at him for a moment. From the twitching at the corner of his mouth, Ryan guessed he was trying to hold back a laugh. He wasn't sure if he wanted to slap him or kiss him now. Instead, he cleared his throat. Twice. I'm fine, thanks. Leto leaned back against the wall and stuck his hands in his belt loops, regarding this with his same lazy, sexy smile. Disturbed, Ryan looked away. Leto held out one large hand. "I'm Leto, by the way." When his much smaller hand gripped his in a handshake, Leto attempted to regulate Ryan's breathing. He'd prayed for God to make the way clear, to make the path obvious in the direction Leto should take his life. Now this man was fresh out of places to live until the barn was reconstructed. How do you invite a gorgeous man you've just met to spend the night without making it sound like a pickup line? "Welcome to California, Ryan, where everything is usually on fire all the time and, well, we have no water. Ever." Ryan snorted ineloquently. "Yeah, sure. I arrived just in time for heat lightning to strike and start an inferno." Some omen, huh? Leto tried to catch his breath, reminding himself of why he shouldn't let himself like Ryan or touch Ryan's athletic body. Yet he couldn't release the smooth peaches and cream hand in his. Ryan's touch was affecting him like being struck by a white, hot bolt of heat lightning. Start an inferno is right. He reluctantly released Ryan's hand when he tugged. He nibbled on the bottom of his lip as his blue eyes narrowed on his. Ryan's honey-sweet voice seemed to pick up a little spice when he asked, "How is it that you were at the fire so quickly?" "I live here." Ryan swallowed hard. then practically squeaked in realization. You? It wasn't a question. For the first time, Leto wondered if the attraction went both ways. He didn't sound necessarily pleased about it. In fact, his next statement sounded more like an accusation. You are my new partner? Yes, sir. Dr. Leto, DVM, at your service. When he all but growled his frustration, he added, Don't worry, we'll rebuild. Ryan tossed his hands in the air before hitching a thumb back towards the lane. I can't exactly live in that moving van while the shelter is under construction. Leto took a step towards him and closed the gap. He watched his breathing speed up. You can live with me until then. There's lots of rooms to choose from. I look forward to a long and fruitful relationship. Ryan shook his head, flipping the gold hair back over his shoulders, and then tipped his stubborn chin in the air. That's partnership, mister, not relationship. Yes, Leto agreed. That too. It takes an equal partnership for any relationship to work. After you interviewed for the job, the vet you're replacing told me you're sweet, big-hearted, and a good doctor. He failed, however, to mention how beautiful you are. Oh, shit! You're a fucking ghost! Ryan grumbled. He failed to mention my future partner could double for a male model. If he needed the change of employment, of course. He whipped his eyes off of his form-fitting t-shirt. Leto shook his head. Yes, this would be interesting. He was definitely interested in him, whether he wished it or not. God had definitely handed Leto a blessing when he sent Ryan. The animal shelter burning down was like a flashing neon sign for Leto's life, sending Ryan into more than his business, sending him into his home as well. But God was looking out for Ryan too. He just didn't realize it yet. Leto motioned toward the hallway. Pick a room, any room, for your stay. Then I'll help you carry your suitcases so you can shower away the smoke and soot from the fire. In the morning, I'll help you unload the moving van. He dropped his voice to a whisper. Welcome home, Dr. Ryan. With that, Ryan spun around and practically stomped towards the hallway. Leto smiled after him. Feisty. Dang, but if he didn't like that about him too. The end.